When you think about it, we've pulled off some pretty incredible engineering feats. We've walked on the moon, we've built skyscrapers that scrape the sky, we've dug tunnels under oceans, but there's one ancient structure that still kind of stumps us, even today, the Great Pyramid of Giza, a 4,500-year-old mystery written in stone. So that's the big question, right? If we had to build one today, with all our modern tech, could we actually pull it off? And what would the price tag be? Well, the short answer is yeah, probably. But the long answer? It's way, way more complicated and honestly, eye-wateringly expensive. So let's break it down and see what it would really take to recreate this wonder of the world. First, just to get a sense of the scale we're talking about, look at this. The Great Pyramid weighs an incredible 6 million tons. Now compare that to the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on the planet. That's only 500,000 tons. That means the pyramid is 12 times heavier. We're not talking about a building, we're talking about a man-made mountain, built from 2.3 million stone blocks, a lot of them the size of an SUV. So, could we do it? Well, the very first roadblock, and maybe the biggest one of all, has nothing to do with engineering or cash. It's something much, much more human. And here it is. We just don't have a reason. Think about it. The ancient Egyptians were building a sacred stairway to the heavens for their god king. They had this incredibly powerful, unifying purpose that drove an entire nation for decades. What's our modern equivalent for that? A really big tourist attraction? It's a stuffed cell. But hey, for the sake of this whole thought experiment, let's just say we found a reason, and we're gonna do it. Okay, so the first practical step is finding the right spot. You can't just drop a 6 million ton structure anywhere. If the ground gives way, the whole thing sinks and it becomes a tomb for the project itself, not for a king. First, we need about 13 acres of prime real estate on a super stable tectonic plate. That's going to cost about $100 million right off the bat. Then another $5 million for deep geological surveys, making sure the ground is solid. Now, the ancient Egyptians were brilliant. They used water channels to get the ground perfectly level. We'd use laser-guided bulldozers to get it flat to within a millimeter, because even a tiny mistake at the bottom becomes a huge lean at the top. Finally, we wouldn't just build on the rock. Oh no, we'd pour a massive 4-meter-thick slab of reinforced concrete, a foundation so huge it would be a mega project all on its own. So let's tally that up. After buying the land, doing the surveys, leveling the site, and pouring that monster foundation, we've already burned through over $500 million. And get this, we haven't even quarried a single block of stone yet. All right, so where do we get the stone? This next step is where the numbers start to get truly mind-boggling. We need to cut 2.3 million individual blocks of limestone and granite out of the earth. Now, here's what's crazy. One modern stone-cutting machine could maybe cut 100 blocks a day. At that pace, it would take 63 years to get all the stone we need. 63! So to hit our ambitious 5-year timeline, we'd need 250 of these industrial diamond saws running at the same time. That's $50 million in machinery alone. And the power to run them? A constant 20 megawatts of electricity. To put that in perspective, running those saws for 5 years would use about the same amount of power as the entire nation of Italy does in a day. The power bill alone? A cool $155 million. And the costs just keep on climbing. When you add about $1 billion just for the raw, high-quality stone itself, our total project cost explodes to $1.75 billion. We've now spent more than the entire cost of the Burj Khalifa, and all we have to show for it is a really big, perfectly cut pile of rocks sitting in a quarry. Okay, so we've bought the land, we've quarried the stone, now we have to move it. And this isn't just a big shipping order. This would be, without a doubt, the single largest transportation job in human history. I mean, just try to wrap your head around moving 6 million tons of rock, some of it from quarries hundreds of kilometers away. If we use our biggest, most heavy-duty trucks, we're talking about 250,000 individual truckloads. That's 240,000 trips. Which means, to hit that 5-year deadline, you would need a non-stop convoy of 500 trucks on the road, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 5 straight years. The logistics are just almost impossible to imagine. And the bill for this massive round-the-clock delivery service, about $200 million. So that brings our new running total to nearly $2 billion. And we still haven't even started building the thing yet. And now for the main event, actually stacking the stones. This is where we face the most dangerous and technically difficult part of the whole project, lifting blocks that weigh up to 80 tons to a height of nearly 150 meters. So here's the problem. There isn't a single mobile crane in the world that can lift an 80-ton block that high. It just can't be done. We need a whole network of the world's tallest tower cranes, constantly being taken apart and put back together as the pyramid grew taller. And the precision has to be absolutely perfect. The original blocks fit so tightly you can't slide a credit card between them. The crane rental and maintenance alone would be $300 million, and paying the salaries for 3,000 skilled workers for 5 years would add another $400 million. So with all the construction and labor costs finally factored in, our grand total skyrockets to a breathtaking $2.7 billion. And with that, the core structure of our pyramid is finally done. It looks a lot like it does today. But we're not quite finished. You see, the ancient pyramids didn't originally look like the rough, stepped structures we see now. They had a final, absolutely dazzling touch. The original pyramid was actually covered in a smooth casing of polished white Tuor limestone. It would have been perfectly smooth and brilliantly reflective. It would have literally shone for miles across the desert, gleaming under the sun. Can you imagine that? Well, adding this final beautiful skin would cost another $250 million, bringing our final grand total to just under $3 billion. So what does $3 billion get you today? Well, you could build the Palm Jumeirah Island in Dubai or the world's most expensive football stadium. These are projects with a clear financial or functional purpose. But in our modern world, spending that kind of money on a monumental tomb, it just doesn't make sense. So the answer to could we build it is yes, technically, but the answer to would we? Almost certainly no. And that really brings us to the final, most crucial point. This thought from archaeologist Zahi Hawass just completely reframes everything. The original project wasn't about a financial cost. It was an investment that unified a people, advanced their technology, and literally forged a civilization. The cost wasn't just in stone and labor. Its value was in the creation of Egypt itself. And that's something you just can't put a price tag on.